as possible?
Traveling, impossible.
We can all stand for the pledge, please. Katie, can you lead us to the pledge?
Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responders, our veterans, our town employees, those fighting the good fight in the Ukraine, those whose lives have passed due to the earthquake in Syria and the Ukraine, and also those that are experiencing floods, massive snow amounts in the western United States.
Very nice.
Thank you.
And watch tomorrow.
Okay. So I'd like to call this legal notice, public hearing. Please take notice that pursuant to sections 405 and 406 of the town charter, the Milford Town Council will hold a public hearing to hear public comment relating to the following proposed ordinance. Moratorium on cannabis establishments in the town of New Milford. It is proposed that the ordinance be added to the New Milford Code of Ordinances as authorized by said charter sections 405, 406, chapter 98 of the general statutes. Said public hearing to be held in the E. Paul Martin Room at the New Milford Town Hall, 10 Main Street, 6:30 p.m., March 13th, 2023. Copy of the proposed ordinance is on file at the town's clerk office and available for examination. This was on the 7th day of March, 2023. And we do have some people that signed up for the public hearing for public comment. The first one is Mr. Mike Sinello. Mike?
Just had it backwards. 30 seconds gone, Mike.
I got it to about 4:40. So, all right. So Mike Sinello, 111 Willow Springs. With the exception of one councilman, the entire basis for this proposed ordinance can be summed up as simply, we don't know what Hartford's going to do when it comes to the sale of recreational cannabis, heretofore referred by its common colloquial names. Wouldn't it be nice to know exactly what Hartford intends to do? Here is our own State Senator Steve Harding answering exactly that question at 1 1/4 speed to save some time.
What should the towns be really expecting here in this, as far as this is concerned, as this gets rolled out?
It would be more regulatory advisements from Department of Consumer Protection and DPH is what you'd see. I don't think you're going to see anything legislative at this point.
Okay.
The legislative aspect of the marijuana legalization is done.
It's a dead issue. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. Other than technical stuff that is just reaffirming what some regulatory body is doing. In terms of legislation, I wouldn't expect anything. The only substantive thing that I could see a legislator proposing, I talked about, would be maybe taking out certain provisions that allow towns to ban these cannabis stores from forming. But again, that's just a kind of an outside thought of I could see a legislator or two proposing that if it hasn't already been proposed. However, I want to just reaffirm the fact that I don't see how that actually would pass, and that anything other than reaffirming regulations or making a nominal technical definition change is all you're going to see, I would think, in legislation this year regarding marijuana.
So in short, nothing, or at most, nothing substantive. There's your answer. But this still belies the principle of the thing, which is the dubious ground of the question in the first place. Hartford is going to do what Hartford is going to do, and we will never know with absolute certainty whether or not the legislature will, for example, ban rice and put every Chinese food restaurant in town and Port Primos out of business. So on what ground within this framework would the moratorium ever expire? The argument is so weak that even those who would seek a total ban on weed in all its forms and activities could object on grounds of what's called reliance. I'll let our town attorney explain the term, though it may best be done in executive session so as not to lay out the pathway for a successful suit against the town. In short, the way you avoid liability for a proverbial rug pull is to pass that liability onto the state, let zoning do what zoning is going to do, and not enact a moratorium. Quote, if you're going to do anything, it should be a moratorium, end quote, is not to say unconditionally you should enact a moratorium, as the if clause is exactly that condition. One option is not to do anything, which is what this body did when smartphones came out, and as they proliferated almost 15 years ago when people traded in flip phones for smartphones. Did we know what Hartford was going to do with smartphones from a regulatory basis? No. Did we have this discussion about a moratorium at the time? No. And for all the reasons I've laid out. And for those who will dissent by saying, but Mike, smartphones and weed are not the same thing. Smartphones are not the scourge of this generation. They absolutely are. If we're to glean anything from the last month or so from the conversations regarding Schaghticoke Middle School, it's that these things absolutely are the scourge of this generation. And I know it's anecdotal, but for these reasons and a whole lot more, the response I've been getting, and I've been getting a lot of response, is universal opposition, regardless of party affiliation, By far the most common response I've been getting is, so Danbury is going to get the small business, the jobs, and the tax revenue, and New Milford is going to get none of the benefits and absorb all of the costs of enforcement? Again, I know it's anecdotal, but from what I can tell, this may be the single most unpopular ordinance to ever come before this body, and it is an election year. This one should be an easy one. I'm just hoping you guys will do the right thing. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Zach?
State your name and address for record, please.
Of course, ma'am. Zachary Francis Messier from Wolcott, Connecticut. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to me tonight and allowing me to speak. Joe and Pete have asked me to come down here. I'm, I guess you would call a cannabis expert per se. I've been I'm 41 years old. I've been a cannabis legalization advocate since I was 15. We've won the war. So, you know, I've also, in the past 5 years of my life, been in the cannabis industry. I have built over $300 million worth of cannabis facilities, both industrial and retail. The agricultural would be the industrial, and also the associated manufacturing facilities that go with that, and the retail facilities as well. I've built over 15 dispensaries in 4 states, all throughout America, Michigan, Ohio, Massachusetts, New Jersey. So, you know, just to be clear, I do have skin in the game, and if, you know, I am an advocate, so just to make my position clear that I am that. But, you know, I'm here to answer any questions anyone might have or any concerns that you guys might have as far as with my experience having worked in the industry. And for me, the thing that I advocate for when it comes to the dispensary system is actually safety. And for me as a cannabis user, as I told Pete, once, you know, when I was younger, I was waiting in the parking lot of a strip club because that's where my dealer told me to meet him. And another guy came up and was like, hey, and I didn't know him. And he was like, hi. And he's like, yeah, you here for the stuff? And I'm like, yeah. I thought maybe my dealer had sent somebody else. He was apparently a heroin dealer. And my other dealer showed up and luckily knew him. And he told me later on I was apparently about to get shot. So, because he thought that I was a cop of some kind. So luckily I was able to get my weed and go home. But for me, that's really the advocacy that I say about it, is you have cannabis users. It's legal. They're going to use cannabis. I've been using cannabis for 21 years now. You know, so I'm not going to stop. Other cannabis users aren't going to stop. So I feel is in the best interest of the town to create an environment that's monitored, that where not only the purchasers can be safe in purchasing it, but that you understand where cannabis is coming from. It's tracked seed to sale. They know that they're getting a product that's healthy, that's not going to hurt them. They can go somewhere where they can feel safe acquiring it. And also, as I said to Pete, one thing that is kind of novel about it is if there is an issue of kids getting into cannabis or something like that, you can now track who purchased that cannabis all the way back. And they can't say, oh, I didn't get that. Yeah, you did. We got a receipt. We have you on video, your facial recognition. How the hell did it get to this kid? So it really enables safety, is really the best thing about the dispensary industry. In the, you know, the dispensary thing in the cannabis industry is really, for me, has been safety. And the way the facilities are made and they're designed meet the same level that a bank does. The only exception is the vault areas aren't of that construction. They're designed to be, it takes 30 minutes to enter is how it's supposed to be. So it takes 30 minutes to cut a hole large enough to get product out, which by that time the alarm system and the police have gotten there. You know, if they haven't, then you guys might want to up your budget in your police force. But either way, for me, it's, you know, that's, as a cannabis user and advocate, that's the real advantage to it. And I know some other concerns Pete had were about also, you know, hey, high traffic, people standing around with a lot of cash, employees getting paid in cash. That's really, what was correct circa 2010. It's really not that way anymore. They all use payroll systems. None of the employees leave in cash. Nobody leaves in cannabis. It's with cannabis. It's all tracked seed to sales. One of them was to try and take cannabis home. The police would be contacted on top of them losing their job. You're not going to get what you guys are imagining if a dispensary opens here. The market's already open. If someone started today, if you guys approved a thing today for me to start a dispensary across the street, it's not going to get open for a year, period. So by the time it does open, you're not going to have lines out the door. You're not going to have crowds and crowds of people. You'll have as much as you get at a liquor store. You know what I mean? It's busier on a Saturday night. You might need a cop to direct traffic the day before the Super Bowl. But it's not going to be any different than what you're getting from a liquor store, realistically. If this was 2019 and Massachusetts and New York and none of them had legalized, oh yeah, I wouldn't look you guys in the eye and say, it's going to be fine. It won't be a complete mess. It would have been a traffic nightmare. You guys would have hated yourselves. No one would have got reelected. But it's just not like that anymore. The cat's already been out of the bag, and the majority of people in Connecticut, they grow their own. They're already in the medical industry. You're really only going to get a lot of the casual users, people that haven't used in a while and maybe want to try again. So, that's really my spiel that I have to say on it. But again, if the people in this town aren't comfortable with it and they want to represent that through you guys, then I'm not here to tell people to put something that they're not comfortable with, because that's the beautiful thing about America. We all have freedom to do however we want. And if this is a town that doesn't want a dispensary, that's your guys' freedom to do. But I would agree with what he said in that you're going to face a lot of the problems. So you might as well get the tax dollars and a couple of jobs if possible. So I just thank you very much. Any
Can I just
questions?
ask a question?
You can ask me whatever you want, man.
Where'd you say you were from?
I'm from Wolcott, Connecticut.
Oh, thanks.
Yep, sure. So,
And I had asked Zach when he did contact me to come before the council. This is the actual public hearing, so we really can't go back and forth. But at the council meeting, if there are council people that would like to ask questions of somebody that's been in the industry,
yeah,
set up
I'm happy to hang around for
hundreds
that.
of millions of dollars worth of this kind of operation, then that'd
Yeah.
be great.
More than available. Yep. Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
Zach.
And thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else that would like to address the public hearing? Entertain a motion, or any council people that would like to? Okay. Like to entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. And a regular town council meeting will open at 7 PM. Thank you, everyone. We can all rise for the pledge. Alex, could you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Have a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our veterans, our first responders, those fighting the good fight in the Ukraine, those people that have lost loved ones in the earthquake in Syria and Turkey, and those that are going through and suffering through the significant snow and rain in the western United States. Thank you.
Do you want to do the creed? Do we have to stand for the creed?
Oh, yeah. Katie?
The American Creed by William Tyler Page. I believe in the United States of America as a government of the people, by the people, for the people, whose just powers are derived from the consent of the governed, a democracy and a republic, a sovereign nation of many sovereign states, a perfect union, one and inseparable, established upon these principles of freedom, justice, and humanity, equality, for which American patriots sacrificed their lives and fortunes. I therefore believe it is my duty to my country to love it, to support its Constitution, to obey its laws, to respect its flag, and to defend it against all enemies.
Sorry, I missed one word.
Sal? Anybody in public comment?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Michael Anastas.
First of all, thank you very much for this time to speak to the council. We really appreciate it.
Address, please?
What?
Can you just give your address, please, for the record?
Oh, this is Michael Anastas, 21 Lake Point Drive. We have a crisis in courtesy here in New Milford. Anyone who watches these meetings of the town council can see Republicans treating three beleaguered Democrats as pesky little mosquitoes. Republicans on town council rarely interrupt one another or cut each other off, but Democrats almost regularly get cut off in mid-thought, impatient members on the other side. It looks like Democrats are being admonished for being in the minority. Their ideas, questions, or opinions seem to have no bearing on the discussion. You can count the number of times each meeting when some Republican calls the question to stop discussion by these Democrats. There's a tradition of courtesy in New Milford. This is a nice town, and people are generally very nice to each other. I know, because I used to live in New York. Voters should expect their elected officials to respect one another and to avoid bullying. The crisis in courtesy should be replaced with examples of courtesy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
No more public participation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Katie?
Okay, moving to item 4, I'd like to motion to approve the consent agenda, items 4A through D.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion?
I'd just like to read this on behalf of the item for social services. They are asking us to accept for them a value of a desk. It's a mobile computer desk that will be used in the social worker's office. That's worth about $200. And the senior center would like to thank the Wii bowling team at the senior center for their donation of a 65-inch flat screen TV, the value of $599, and that will be
Nice.
used by the We Be Happy Bowlers on the senior bowling team.
Excellent. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Item 5, I'd like to move to approve the appointment of Michael Vochis as an alternate on the Economic Development Commission. His term would be March 13th, 2023 through 11/30/2023.
Second.
Any discussion? And Mr. Vochis is already on the Economic Development. And he was as a regular member, but now will be an alternate member due to the reconfiguration of the charter. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Item
Thank
5B, I'd like to move for the reappointment of Kevin Cox to the Economic Development Commission. His term would be March 13th, 2023 through November 30th, 2023.
A second. Any discussion? All the minutes. Then you can contact the mayor's office. There's a form we'll have you fill out, a volunteer form, and then we'll talk to you, see if it's something that you'd like to do, and then bring the name forward to this body here, the town council.
Great, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So we need to
And
vote.
we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? And Mr. Cox is also a current member of the Economic Development Commission. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you.
Your mayor's comments are next.
Thank you. Just briefly, we are currently under a winter storm warning here in Litchfield County. They're expecting snow to start later on this evening, right around midnight. They're talking about heavy, wet snow. On top of that, you're also looking at winds that can go from 40 to 45 miles per hour. With that being said, with the snow hitting the trees, and then speaking with Eversource, they are expecting power outages. So we do recommend those that are watching here tonight to charge your electronics. If you do have a generator, please make sure that it has the proper fuel. And if it's a portable generator, please make sure that it's outside of your structure, outside of your garage or your basement, as that can give you carbon monoxide poisoning. So it's very important. Also, if you can make sure that your generator is properly fed into your system, because you don't want any kind of back filling onto the grid, which could then hurt the linesmen that will be out once the winds die down to regenerate electricity. We'll be providing updates through the evening on those that are out of electricity, where they are at, and Eversource has mobilized. We spoke to them earlier today with additional crews from different areas, but they will not be up in buckets when there is wind speeds above, I believe, 20 miles an hour. So just make sure everyone is aware of that. And this storm is a little longer than anticipated. The storm itself will be going all the way through Tuesday into Tuesday evening, is the last one that we were given the update on. We raised the Lithuanian flag in celebration of Lithuanian Independence Day on Saturday, and just wanted to thank our resident who came, Mr. Barlow. He actually loaned us his flag, and was very appreciative of that, and it just shows our diversity here in New Milford. Also wanted to thank Bonnie Joy Richards and the entire Northville PTO, Principal Gallagher, and the Northville teacher, Miss Woolley, in her first grade, for allowing me to be reading to our first grade students in her class. Also to all the other wonderful volunteers that went to the Read Across America and read to our students. I know, Katie, you did as well. And it's wonderful to be there with those younger elementary grade school students and the importance of reading. I want to congratulate Leo Malhike. If I mispronounce your name, Leo, last name, I apologize. He was honored at the Scholastic Art and Writing Awards ceremony at Manhattanville College. He received 3 gold keys and 3 silver keys for short story category. Leo has 3 gold winners. He's been entered into the national competition, and the national medalist will be announced later in the month. In the past, Leo has won 3 gold medals and 1 silver medal at the national level. Pretty outstanding.
Yes.
I want to congratulate our New Milford High School bowling team as they finished 5th at the CIAC State Championships. I want to congratulate Bill Deek as he was crowned the 2022 Bethel Motor Speedway NASCAR Stock Champion. I want to congratulate the New Milford High School Winter Percussion as they took first place in the MAC Trumbull Show, and they put on a great show, absolutely great. Also, congratulations to the Scouts that did well in the Pinewood Derby that was on March 4th. There were some pretty cool cars, and they make all the vehicles themselves with parental help, and it's great to see their wonderful projects come to fruition and how fast those cars go down that track. Also, thank you to Milford High School DECA Team Advisor, Debbie Knipple, and the DECA students. 30 of the high school marketing students participated in the Connecticut DECA competition. Ashleen Cyan placed first in Principles in Marketing. Ellie Jowdy placed third in Principles of Marketing. Brady O'Neill placed first in Buying and Merchandising Research. Ashleen, Ellie, and Brady now qualify for the DECA Nationals, which are going to be in Florida. I want to congratulate the New Milford High School girls basketball team. We talked about them a little bit at earlier town council meetings, as they had a very, very successful season, especially beating New Canaan in the second round of the CIAC Class L tournament. So great job for that. I want to congratulate our newest New Milford police officer, Cassandra Almonte, who was recently sworn in, and also Captain Wilcoxon, who's now been promoted to Deputy Chief, and Officer Almonte transferred from the Bloomfield Police Department, where she had been an officer for 3 years. She's bilingual, and she studied at WestCon, and speaking with the chief today, and she's fitting right in, he said, which is great. Also, looking forward to the New Milford High School Theater with their opening of Mamma Mia, and that's going to start opening night on March 17th at 7 p.m. They also have another showing on the 18th at 7 p.m., the 19th at 3 p.m., then on the 24th at 7 p.m., the 25th at 2 p.m. and 7 p.m. If you get a chance, please go out and see this wonderful play and the great job that the actors, actresses, and pit crew all did to make this wonderful show for us. Quickly on bullying, what's been going on so far, as we have our youth agency here and our director, Jason O'Connor. First, want to thank the whole team as they're going to be doing a screening of the movie Like, which is going to be Thursday, March 14th at 7 p.m. And this documentary talks about the impact of social media on our lives, especially our kids, and how important that is. Also, we continued with anonymous alerts, and for those that are watching, you or your child can sign up for this app, and this application is run both by the school administration side and by the town side. There are drop downs in there that talk about anything from bullying, fighting, crime. All this is put in there, and it will go to the appropriate designee. So if it's in the school, it's going to go to the school administration. If it's outside of school, it's in the town, it will go to either the youth agency or to the New Milford Police Department. This is just one part of our strategy when it comes to really highlighting and trying to combat bullying. The youth agency is also doing an Upstandards workshop, and that's from grades 6 to 9, which is Friday, April the 14th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Dinner is included, and for those that are watching, you can call 860-210-2020 to reserve your seat. Also, today starts our New Milford Restaurant Weeks, and it goes from today till the 27th. And if you go to newmilfordnow.org, you can click on the Restaurant Week icon, and it will show you all the wonderful participating restaurants that are participating in this year's Restaurant Week. So very excited about that. New Milford Roof Project, right now there's not much change due to the weather. They haven't been up on the roof lately. We've got about 85 to 90%, right, Jack, completed. The flat roofs, we're just waiting till the weather gets a little warmer to complete those. So we're very excited about that project to finally get completed. As far as the sidewalks, those are going to be starting, right, Jack, in the summertime with Beta?
The design is about 90% complete, so we're working through the final details.
Excellent. And those sidewalks, for those to remember, start at the condos south of the high school. They go all the way up past the high school through Savings Bank of Danbury. There's another spot where there's an opening where the Taco Bell is. That will then be filled, so you have all those sidewalks there. We'll also have sidewalks from almost Three Brothers all the way down and around Pettibone. And then we also have the sidewalks that will be coming down from Canterbury School. So we'll give you more information as we move forward with that project. Route 7 traffic, we've talked about this before. Thank you to State Senator Harding, State Representative Buckby, State Representative Pat Callahan, and State Representative Harrison, as they're continuing to work with us to get DOT to look at completing additional lighting on Route 7. Also continuing with different types of safety measures and slowing down traffic there. Also looking to put a school zone in by the high school because of the high school and the kids that are walking there as well. And we'll have more information as we continue to move forward, but thank you to them for really helping us try and move this along. Speaking with Chief Ceruto, so far this year as far as accidents. So this year in 2022, this time in 2022, we have 170 accidents. This year, we have 142, which is down 28, which is a 16% decrease so far. That's good news, but one accident is too many.
Yeah, it's still, yeah.
And that was actually lower than the previous year. But we're going to continue to have enforcement by the New Milford Police Department, also continue with awareness that we raise each and every time, and then also look at different traffic calming issues as well. And that's what I have so far tonight, Katie. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So, item 7, we'll have a report from the members of the Student Advisory Board, the Youth Agency Student Advisory Board, and their advisor.
Hello, everybody. I'm Maria Leo, the Community Youth Advocate, and this is David Matos from our Student Advisory Board. He's going to tell you a little bit more about the Like movie, the Upstander workshop, and since today's the first day of Neurodiversity Celebration Week, he's going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing with that. So.
Before I continue, I would like to thank once again for this opportunity of speaking before the board. It goes without saying that I hope to have more opportunities like this in the future. With that being said, I would like to begin with the Like movie. As already mentioned by our mayor, Mr. Bass, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. The youth agency is hosting a screening of the documentary Like in collaboration with the Bank Street Theater tomorrow night. If by any chance it's canceled by the weather, it will be rescheduled. And this film will be looking at social media and its effect on both youth and families. It provides a perspective on the negatives and positives using this common tool that many of my friends use nowadays, especially myself. Moreover, since it's free to attend, townspeople will be able to interact and converse with one another on a common topic. It hopefully bring the town together on an opening discussion about a contemporary topic that can affect so much of our lives. The Upstanders Workshop. As a follow-up, we will be holding an intervention workshop called the Upstanders. It's for youths within grades 6 to 9, so like the middle school, and it's also open to the parents. And this workshop is a hands-on way to learn bystander intervention on topics such as bullying, sexual harassment, violence, and abusive behaviors in an attempt to prevent those actions from occurring and hopefully cultivating a supportive environment. As many of us know, it is important to engage and support our youth while doing all we can to prevent bullying. And hopefully this is another opportunity to create a supportive environment within New Milford, starting with our youngest group who are preparing to enter high school. And Neurodiversity Week. Today is the beginning of Neurodiversity Celebration, and reaching and serving the marginalized groups of children and families is really extremely important to the youth agency. And because of that, we have taken the initiative to create more opportunities for the population in order to, especially for the neurodiverse population. In addition to our recent special events like Pajama Party, our Safe Place meetings, and Valentine's Day dance, Mr. Jeremy Farrell, an autism spectrum disorder advocate, will be establishing a presentation on autism and building skill sets that will focus on strategies for developing social skills, life skills, relationship skills, and work skills. This ties back to our previous month where our theme was preparing students for life after high school. It is an opportunity to prepare our neurodiverse population for careers, or pursuing secondary education, and it is once again a way to provide both a supportive environment and provide opportunities for parents and volunteers to both help out, understand more about the neurodiverse community, and to help out. So,
Outstanding. Katie?
I'm sorry, what was your first name?
David.
David, okay. David, excellent coverage of what's been going on. And the upstanding, so does that mean upstanding as in stand up for your friends, or just stand up in general about whatever's happening around?
The goal is to stand up for in general.
Not just like bullying, but it could be anything that you see that might be happening.
Yes.
Get involved. That's very good. Very good. Thank you.
All right. David, thank you very, very much. Okay, Lori?
Just wonder, you mentioned safe space meetings for the neurodiverse kids. Is that
Safe place.
Yeah, tell me about that.
So it meets on the first and third Wednesdays of every month. It's a place for both parents and children, and to find a community within the neurodiverse community. And essentially, parents and the children go their separate ways. The parents will be able to socialize and network, find a support group to help out their children, assist their children with whatever they may need, as well as support the parents themselves. Whereas the children are able to go and play with other kids, and it provides volunteer opportunities as well for the youth.
Thank you.
Great idea.
I apologize for my nervousness when presenting.
You're doing great.
Yeah,
Any
you're
other
wonderful.
questions? Sal?
Gosh.
I just had a quick question. This movie thing is quite interesting. Do you guys talk about values in life and something like this? Because I understand the social media, but when you go and trying to explain those things, bullying, for instance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Typically, the bullies they have less or almost no values because they're going after some other kids, right? Is that some discussions that you guys are providing, or are you having like in close, I don't know, caption with the audience that you discuss values? What's value, what's not value, and how can they actually
Jason?
submit society?
Jason?
Yeah. So thanks for that question, Sal.
Stand up and be counted, Jason.
I'll go to the podium. Jason, Youth Agency Director. So debrief is very important at those events, and like you said, the values and the morals behind that behavior is very important. So normally it's myself who holds that debrief, so we answer questions to parents, anyone interested in coming, so that the conversation won't just be on social media, the uses of it, the importance of self-regulation, but then understanding the values behind it. How can we build a healthier family? And then offering just any of our services that we can to help that. But yeah, generally we just don't show a movie and then say goodnight and walk away. We host that debrief, and it's probably one of my favorite parts is just having that really open conversation with the parents and the folks attending.
Oh, I mean, you talk about values to just describe them, so
Yeah.
I guess that answers this question.
Jason, I have a question. If you have snow, or David, maybe you know if there's snow and you can't do it tomorrow, do you have a date already?
We do not have a date yet,
Oh.
so we are working with both IndieFlix and Bank Street Theater. So IndieFlix has said that essentially they will hold that reservation for us, and then it's working with the local theater on when the next date is available.
Great.
We're going to see and assess tomorrow. Perhaps the roads would be good and people want to get out of their
Right.
snowed in driveways. We don't know. We're just going to see how it is tomorrow. Um,
Sounds like a good one to see.
yeah.
very good.
Did you want to
We all
add
screened it.
any information about the Safe Place or any other work you're doing with the neurodiversity?
No, the Safe Place is actually built on a model that was here in New Milford previously at the Children's Movement Center. And I'm a parent of a 19-year-old who has autism and is intellectually disabled. So that was kind of how my little community met. So I wanted to bring it to the youth agency in the same forum. The Children's Movement Center obviously closed during COVID. So we kind of brought it over here, and we've been getting new families every week. We have families coming from Washington. It's not only from New Milford. We had a family reach out from Kent recently. So it's been really good. I kind of stay with the parents and we talk, and we made vision boards at the beginning of the year. It's just a chance for everybody to connect, make friends, kind of talk about what's going on, what problems they're having. And the kids get to play pool and air hockey, and we have, Brian is usually over there with the kids, and we have some volunteers. We're looking to get kids from the transition center to come volunteer and act as mentors to these little kids as well.
Great.
So we met with LHTC this week, and that way we're reaching the older kids that we're serving here in New Milford and matching them with the younger kids. So it's been really great so far. We meet twice a month, and yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great
Doug?
things you did.
David, thank you for your speech. It was great. Jason, I have a quick question. Do you collaborate with the school at all to go in and, like you guys are doing tonight, going in and explain maybe to some of the students that you're running these programs so they're aware of it, as opposed to just doing this on a night like this, so they can maybe join in with groups and stuff that they don't know about? They have those
So-
options.
I'll speak on what I guess the adults at the youth agency do, and then David can speak on what he does, because he's one of our best advocates within the school getting this out. But we work with the Career Center jointly. Maria has worked with Ms. Schaefer to get this material out there. The students have met with Principal Manka himself. We sit on various boards with them just to social emotional learning. Monthly meetings I have with the school admins to just ensure all of our joint programming is staying relevant and it's kind of meeting its marks. So we collaborate, I would say, multiple times a month, if not a week, with the school admins. But I'll let David speak on how he works within his own student leaders on what he's already done within that school administration himself.
So, this was mentioned last month during my last time I was here at Town Council. There was a meeting between some members of the youth agency and Mr. Best and Mr. Manko respectively within the high school, and there we discussed about getting information such as volunteering opportunities out there, or spreading the information about assistance or help that one may need. Aside from using the school administration as a means of spreading information, I myself will talk to my fellow peers, provide them information about this, or invite them to an opportunity. I know that, such as, for example, for the more recently, the Like movie, and a while back, a talk being hosted, one of the various presentations the youth agency provides, I would use my social media account and spread information that some students may find useful through that. And so it's both a mixture. In my case, it's both a mixture of interacting with the school administration and interacting with the peers themselves. Wingman definitely offers an opportunity as well to spread a lot of this information. So it's another form.
The youth agency have a pretty comprehensive email list of students that have been involved with us.
Right.
So when any of this comes up, we blast out all of the events and ask them to share with their friends.
And you do the middle schools as well?
Yes, yes.
Not
Yeah,
just
they're
the-
not in the student advisory board, but yes, we do definitely
Yeah,
contact
because I think you
them.
guys do a great
Yep.
job, and get that information into the schools.
Yes.
I think would be a big help.
Absolutely.
Because they're all, outside of the social aspects of the school,
Yes.
outside aspects, I think you guys are doing a great job. I think that would be important.
Yes.
Thank you.
I would say programmatically too, we are involved in the schools. Our social worker Sarah goes to Sarah Noble every Tuesday, where she offers essentially all the lunchways get designated students go down, and it's all about kindness, friendship, and inclusion work. And we're currently collaborating with a high school group that we're looking to kick off, and that's targeting school avoidance students up at the high school. Maria mentioned the student advisory board. That is our monthly meeting of our Davids and everyone else within our youth agency, and they meet collectively with Maria. They offer us a contemporary pulse opinion on youth voice, what we need, what their interests are. It keeps us relevant, And those members sit on our board of directors. We look to the mayor and myself to see how we can get them into additional leadership opportunities, and this is why we come here, so that youth voice can be heard, and just value that youth opinion.
And not to mention
Jason?
the various clubs. But
Tell them.
Zach, do you, Maria, you and Jason, you know, do they, your flyers or your information, do they go out through the superintendent's
Yes.
community? Yeah, that,
Yes.
I found that's, you find people
Yes.
there that you don't.
That and their
normally-
Yes.
newsletter as well.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
And David came up with a great idea today, actually, of bringing in kids from Schaghticoke to join our student advisory board, probably the 8th graders to start with.
Good idea.
To have these guys kind of be mentors to them and teach them some leadership skills as they come into high school. And he actually emailed me today about that.
Good
himself, so-
idea, David.
Well, that's important. Well, thank you
Yeah,
for all
I
you
like-
do.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, David. Thank you.
Thank
for
you,
your
Dave.
All right, thanks.
Thank you all.
Very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Very nice.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to more mundane. Item 8, we have quite a few road closures. So we'll start with the first one. The New Milford Veterans Committee is requesting the closure of Bridge Street, Railroad Street, and Bennett Street, and part of the Green for the annual Memorial Day Parade, which is May 29th, 2023, which will start at 9 a.m. and go to 1 p.m., pending traffic authority. Item B, New Milford Chamber of Commerce is requesting the following road closures for the New Milford fireworks celebration, which will be Saturday, July 1st, 2023. They would like the southern crossover of the Green from 2 p.m. until the fireworks end, Bank Street, 2 p.m. till the fireworks end, Fort Hill Road, Peegler Hill Road, and Townview Drive for the duration of the fireworks shoot. Again, that's Saturday, July 1st. The rain date is Saturday, July 8th. And then we also have a road closure for the tree lighting ceremony, moving right along from July to November 25th, 2023, the southern crossover of the Green on Saturday, that day, the 25th of November, from 2 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And last but certainly not least, the New Milford River Fest and the Ostomy Awareness Foundation are requesting the closure of Youngsfield Road on September 30th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. for the Riverfest Ostomy Awareness River Run. And that too is pending traffic authority.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Great
Thank you.
stuff, great stuff going on, huh? Item 9, Mayor, is the first item. Would you like me to start with that?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion that we approve the ordinance for the moratorium of retail cannabis establishments in New Milford. For a second?
Tom said second, so now we have discussion.
Okay.
So, in discussion, Randy, can you kind of give an update to the council? I know when we were originally looking at this, there was a lot of things up in the air at Hartford. We had at a public, because you weren't at the public hearing, we had Mr. Sinello post a video where I guess he was interviewing Senator Harding. And Senator Harding said there, I'm paraphrasing this, that there was no additional legislative things coming before the legislature. As our town attorney, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are that I revised the ordinance to reduce its effect as you requested. There's nothing further in the as Senator Harding said, there's nothing further in the legislature that will affect this particular ordinance. Remember, this is only a moratorium. So the reality is that I've reduced it exactly as I was asked to by the town council, and the only question is a policy one. It's not a legal one. That is whether or not you want to do a moratorium at all, and if you do, recall that it's a moratorium. You could revisit it any time, and you could act upon the entirety after the moratorium expires. So it doesn't preclude you from anything. Nothing is pending before the legislature.
Randy, when does it expire? If we were to go forward and approve it?
1 year, I believe it's a 1 year moratorium.
From the day we
of approval.
enact, right?
And it becomes effective the 21st day after publication.
Okay, so that 22nd day, we could decide to say, change it.
Yeah, anytime you want. It's a creature of the legislature In this instance, you are the legislature. So just like in Hartford, how they fool around with the statutes, you can do anything you want going forward, and you can change with essentially the dialectic. Whatever happens societally, you can change that as a legislative prerogative.
Thank you, Randy. And I had spoken with Zach, who's here tonight, and with Joe. And Zach, if you could come up, he's had extensive experience in the cannabis industry, and I had given information to the council, and Zach wanted to let me know, I'm not going to speak for it because I like talking, but he goes, that was back 5-6 years ago. Things have changed.
Yeah, it's when I got it, for me, my background, for you who didn't hear me before, I'm 41. I've been a cannabis legalization advocate since I was 15. This has, been my life's work, so that's where my position is. So, I'm biased in that sense. But I got into the cannabis industry about 5 years ago. And when I got in, Massachusetts was just opening its first recreational dispensary. There was lines out the door. It was a madhouse, tons of traffic. It was the proverbial shit show, as they say. And as I saw that when I worked in the industry, I worked for Ascend Wellness. I built in Illinois, Massachusetts, Michigan, and Ohio and New Jersey. As we opened the first store, we opened in Illinois. Just crowds everywhere, lines. It was huge, and as it kept going, this was in 2020. And they went rec in Illinois, adult use. And then as we kept going down, the chain, we started noticing, a slight difference. Finally, when you get to, it's 2022 and we went recreational in New Jersey in Rochelle Park. Fast forward to that. There was a line, but it was nothing that made the news. They did brisk business that day, but there was a couple moments when they weren't really that busy. It's the way the market is now. You already have recreational sales available throughout the state. You can go to Bristol. You can go all over to get it. New York's legalized. You're going to get more dispensaries over the border pretty soon. They're going to be pretty willy-nilly about how they give out licenses. And I'll tell you right now, it's completely legal in the state of New York to smoke cannabis anywhere where you can smoke tobacco except for a moving vehicle. So it doesn't say that in the law, but I just make that assumption. So you're really looking at like a free-for-all over there. You have Massachusetts has a very robust market to the point where I'm a medical user. A lot of times I purchase in Massachusetts because that's where I work, because it's cheaper than it is at my medical dispensary, because since adult use came on 3 weeks ago, the prices have skyrocketed. So Rhode Island's legalized. You're really not going to see the same sort of issues that you saw previously. As I said previously, if you were to give me the approval today, you can open a dispensary, I have the money, there's the location, it's going to be over right across the street. It'd probably be at least a year before it was open, and that's being very aggressive. You'd look at probably longer than that, I would say, but the year would be the quickest that you'd be able to get it done, because you still have to zone it, go through the whole thing. So by then, you're already going to have stores open in Connecticut, as they already are. You're going to have more stores will have been allowed to go adult use. So I just don't see it as being the problem that a lot of people imagine it is, based on very real experience with what Massachusetts did only a couple of years ago. But things have really changed dramatically in that couple of years, to the point where you're going to see a brisk business. When this hypothetical dispensary opens, you're definitely going to see the first week they're going to have a grand opening sale. They're going to try and get people in the lot. They're going to do whatever they can, try and get on the news. The first month, you're going to see they're going to be doing their best to get people down, but you're going to be surprised that it's just not going to be what it was then. You're not going to see lines out the door, hundreds of people with cash in their hand. That situation isn't going to be there. And also, any dispensary that you work with would be happy to have a police officer on hand for the first month to allay any fears or anything in the lot. And again, as I said previously, security for me as a cannabis user is really the main advantage. You guys have cannabis users in this town. You have to. It's physically impossible for you not to have them, the way statistics work. Talk to the police department, I'm sure they'll tell you. So the reality is, if you have cannabis users that are upstanding citizens, which, hey, we can be now because it's legal, you want a safe environment for them to go purchase. As I told them about a time where I went to purchase. My dealer told me to meet him in the parking lot of a strip club, and another guy pulled up long story short, my dealer ended up showing up. The guy who did pull up, who thought I was a cop, he was going to shoot me because he was a heroin dealer. But luckily, my weed dealer knew him, and I got my bag, and I was able to go home. So, that's for me the main thing about it. That's why I got into the cannabis industry, was to create a safe place for me to be a purchaser and inevitably, be a legitimate citizen. And I think that's what you're allowing your citizens to have. That's, Pete asked me, why should we do this? I could give you all this BS about how, it's good tax revenue. It's one retail business. It's going to create jobs. It's one retail business. We get 10 jobs, one general manager's position, 2 assistants. It's not about that. The thing that is the benefit I feel that it adds to the town is a safe place for the cannabis consumers you have in your town to go purchase and not have to worry about that. You also have another safety aspect, which was totally new to the law enforcement in Illinois and Massachusetts, but they were shocked about. If cannabis does, from the legal market, get into someone underage's hands, they can track it back to the person that bought it. And they can't deny, I didn't buy that. Dude, we have you on camera. It's facial recognition. You have the receipt. It's everything. You had to scan your ID when you went in there. It stays in a record that is not, it's not accessible, but everybody, you can get it, the police can get a hold of it. It can be subpoenaed. So it's created a big advantage for them in being able to understand who's the abusing cannabis users and who are the ones that are just people that are regular users. And again, as far as the business, there will be times when there's increased business, like any liquor store. You're going to see, day before the Super Bowl, you're going to see a bunch of people, 420 I'm sure is going to be big. Lord only knows why. I'm 41 and I have no clue, but it is. You're going to see stuff like that. Christmas time around, hey, let's get your gifts. But it's not going to be anything more than you're going to see from a liquor store. And the one last thing I will say is, I think you'll be surprised when it does eventually open. Because whether there's a moratorium or not, it's going to eventually. There's not that many people. There's just not as many cannabis users as you think. I mean, you get the first week, you get people that, maybe like the people here that maybe have never used it before or haven't used it since high school or whatever, like, hey, let me give it a shot. But the regular users, they're a really small number of people in society. It's not like liquor where 30% of people have a drink every day. You'd be lucky if you get 3% of people are like me that consume cannabis every day. It's just really not a lot of us. So I think you'll be pleasantly surprised that the lack of riffraff that it creates. But again, and the last thing I will say is if your issue is the normalization of cannabis, I can't, it definitely will help with that. I can't say, I won't lie to you and say, no, it's not going to, but it will with that. But that's what I've been fighting for virtually, all of my life now. And I'm hoping to push forward with that. But if the town doesn't want that, because that's what your citizens don't want, then that's what makes America awesome. It's free. If you guys don't want dispensaries, they'll go to the next town. So, any questions or anything, I'm happy to answer them, and I can't thank you enough for listening to me.
Thanks, Doug?
So explain to me exactly the regulations that a dispensary would have to go through when they apply for the state and how it's regulated, and the state comes in and makes sure.
Sure, absolutely. So, oh my God. So what happens, you have to apply for the license. You have to show that you have the qualifications to do it, i.e. you understand the security aspect of it. You have a security advisor. You've already hired a security company. You have to submit a security plan. That's the key thing they want to understand is 2 things. Your security plan. What are you doing to make this secure? So you'll find all the security plans mirror pretty much a bank as far as what they do. Also, the tracking. Every product that comes in has to be tracked. Like, think about it. When a liquor truck pulls up to deliver liquor, or even anything, forget about another drug. You get Coca-Cola off the truck to the convenience store. He just looks at it and he's like, okay, yeah, 3 cases. You could pull one out and he wouldn't know, or something like that. Not with cannabis. Each individual item has to be scanned from their thing and entered into the system. So if the person that sold it, i.e. if Verano, over in wherever they grow in Rocky Hill, that's where they grow, if they want to sell stuff to the dispensary here, it's been tracked from the moment it leaves there. If there's one jar that didn't get scanned into their system, the state will contact them that day. I mean, they will know that day that there was something, where did this one go? The key thing is the state's trying to prevent diversion. I'll tell you, from working in retail and working in the cannabis industry, any industry, 99% of theft comes inside. It's people that just the employees take stuff home. I know 50 people worked at Starbucks. They took toilet paper and everything they get their hands on, So that's what the state's trying to prevent is diversion. The other thing is the operational plan that you have to submit to them. The state wants to understand How do you take the cannabis into the facility? Do you have a secure place? Like imagine this U. Do you have a gate that the truck drives into and the gate shuts and people come out? Is it observed on camera? How does the cannabis get from the truck to the vault? Then how does it get from the vault to the actual point of sale station? How does it get there out of the store? Do you put it in the correct packaging? Do you seal it properly? What do you use for, each state has different regulations. So in Connecticut, it has to leave in a stapled bag. So that's how it is. Are you doing that properly? Does your bag meet those requirements? It can't be a clear bag, for example. It has to be one, does it have to be one staple or two? Very specific things, all the way really just down to the very last moment that the person leaves the store. They usually have to set up a man trap system where only one person can leave at a time. So there's very, very strict regulations that go through, and the state approves each one on a case-by-case basis. They can flag each individual one for something that they just don't like about that particular dispensary, how they're running, or something that they could just say, no, we don't like it. So
And for safety and health, I'm sure they're under even a bigger microscope because of this new.
Absolutely. When industries like this start up, you're really under a microscope. We started up in Illinois for Ascend, and it was kind of a funny story. I had a chief retail officer who came from Converse, and when I walked in, I said, and I was just in charge of construction. That was my thing. I wasn't compliance. But I said, she had all the orders out on the counter. I said, you just can't do that. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, that's against the law in this state. And she was like, well, I'm going to tell them how we do retail. Quickly she was fired, and the state fined them. The state fined that company about $500,000. It was I think $5,000 a day for her making that violation. So they're very quick to penalize, and they're very quick to pounce on you if they find something is amiss, and you will get reported, period, if something is amiss. You'll oftentimes find that you actually get reported by the people in the dispensary because most of the people that work at these things, they got beards, they got they're fun. They're like me in that they're passionate about this and they care. And if someone's gonna screw that up for them, they're gonna rat them out. When I found that was the thing that was, when I worked in the facility, that was shocking to me, just how quickly people were ready to do the right thing in that situation, because they really had a vested interest in this. And you could tell very quickly the people that didn't, and they were gone. So it's a really fast-paced industry, and you have to really want it to be in there. The people that work in there, at these dispensaries, if you open a dispensary, they're gonna get 3,000 resumes and applicants. So they're only gonna select the people that wanna work there, that aren't gonna screw around. And the state wants it that way. So that's what they do. We as cannabis users have a lot riding on this, so we can't screw it up. That's how I've always impressed it to my workers and to people beneath me, is that we have to set an example. We're not like the town drunk. That's not us.
Thank you.
Katie?
Oh, no, I was just
Randy. And then Sal, sorry. Randy?
I just wanted to further, you made a very good point. Sal was concerned about a month and a half ago about what will happen to the environment. I just want to let you know I did the research on it, and absolutely what he says. These are not going to turn into hookah bars. They're not going to turn into opium dens. These are really, these established, and I checked one.
I haven't passed that law yet, I'm sorry.
I checked one up in Massachusetts called the Pass. And everything that they sell is stapled, like you said, with an opaque bag. They can't even use it in the parking lot, whoever buys it. Now, that's the regulation. Just to let you know that it's not going to become what we'd all think this. Somebody tried to engage me and my firm to oppose in another town. Now, I don't appear before other towns because I represent 7 towns. It would be kind of weird to represent against them. But these people were very under the impression that it's going to turn into a street carnival of smoking, and it didn't. It's not going to happen in these dispensaries. Whether it's going to happen on the street, I don't know, but that could be with black market weed too. So the fact is that, just to answer your question, Sal, they're not going to be able to smoke inside the dispensary.
And just real quick, there's a point that he makes, and it's a really good example. I think that came from California. If you went out there back in 2014 when Colorado legalized, you could go to California, every dispensary was just blacked out walls. You went in, it was like women in bikinis serving joints, you smoke right there. That's not what we're building here. This is not what we're talking about. It's not some free-for-all, gray market Amsterdam type thing. It's a highly regulated industry that you have to meet a lot of qualifications to get in.
All right, so I have a question for you.
Sal?
Obviously, you are for it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so in your opinion, we have many problems in society. What problem does having a joint resolve in a society?
The point isn't resolving problems. Joints, I'm never going to say that marijuana solves a problem. It doesn't. It
Okay,
creates
so-
more problems.
So why is it bothered of, because the way I hear it right now in legislature, when he's saying only 3% may be using, maybe not using, right? They make it believe as this is the best invention of the
Absolutely.
sliced bread.
No,
which is
absolutely.
not.
It's true. I agree. Yeah.
So it's a crappy conversation, right? From the
Sure,
government
it's a
point of view.
BS conversation. I've never been the person that
So I
sells
tell you
on-
how it all started, right? So I work for corporations.
Sure.
Every 6 months, my boss can call me, hey, Sal, you have to go and get your hair pulled.
I'm
We
sorry
want to
for
see
you.
if you're doing the dope or not.
I don't know why you would put up with that from your employer. You should tell your employer that they should find another employee that's willing to put up with that nonsense.
Quite frankly, it's them that pay me, not the other way around.
Well,
basically,
your
tell me what
services
to-
must not
Hang
be
on.
in that high
So-
demand
so
that you
here-
can work
so
for
you-
a company that treats you that way.
I
My
understand.
services are in such a
Hear
demand
me
that
out.
I can find a company that won't
Hear
treat
me
you
out.
that way.
Hear me out. So now you have a, I don't know, 16, 17 minor, right? Got stopped, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years ago for using marijuana. And at the same time, he caused an accident. He goes to the court.
Sure.
And it's written by the judge because he likes, like, oh, whatever that is, right?
Sure.
And the judge says, we're going to dismiss it because you just had a dope and whatever. Now it's felony. We're going to wipe it out. This is the legislation is about wiping out whatever happened before, so that possibly people who had a problem with felonies can actually go to the job market, right?
Right.
But underneath that judgment could be many other things. Let's say an accident or something like this, and possession of marijuana. So that's one thing. The other thing is this: if I have to comply and go to get a dope test every 6 months. Otherwise,
That's a
I'm-
personal choice
otherwise-
you made at the job you
I
chose.
don't- no.
Could you not get another job? Could you not get another job with a different company? Is that not a possible? This is America. You're free to get another job. Why would you put up with that from your
slogan.
company?
Okay, anyway, I'm against it. I'm for medical marijuana. I get that point.
That's fair.
But again, nobody answered the question to me: what problem in a society smoking a joint resolve? It
I will
doesn't.
tell you what problem it resolves.
Okay, go ahead.
The fact that I'm a free citizen in a free society and I'm not hurting anyone and I should be able to do stuff. The problem it solved was that you made me a criminal. Do you want me to be in jail?
I didn't make you anything.
Do you want, I'm asking you a question. I didn't ask you if you made me so. I said, do you want me to go to jail?
I don't guess think.
I'm a cannabis user. I'm a cannabis user. And when it was illegal, I could have been arrested and sent to prison. Do you want that?
For you to go to prison?
Yes.
If you smoke marijuana and it causes accident, yes, go to prison.
So I've never done that. So you want me to go to prison just for smoking marijuana in my home?
Statistically, you don't know how many accidents or incidents of that could be together.
I wonder,
Anyway,
so the answer is that you want me to go to prison. Hold on, I have a question. I want, so you want me to go to prison for merely using marijuana?
Zach?
No,
So that's his answer. My answer to his
Zach.
question is, it prevents me from being a criminal.
Hillary?
So, I just have a question for the mayor. Thank you. I mean, I can give you two pros, for it, which is disparity of sentences. That's kind of what you guys are getting at. People who are arrested for marijuana, if you look at the statistics, that's sort of one of the reasons this legislation's popular. Also, safety of product, as we've talked about here. But my question is, I'm glad that you've had this person come talk to us. Is there the other side coming tonight or no? Like, so why we'd have the moratorium, or is this the
So
only person we're
at
hearing
our
from?
last meeting, we talked about
Why we would.
why we would put the
Okay,
moratorium.
I just wanted to know, I just wanted to be sure, because
And-
my concern, as I think we've all stated already, is, do you have any data or statistics about how Colorado and Massachusetts are doing as far as teen use going up, addiction, sort of some of the negatives? Now, I know you've already said you're biased. 'cause
I'm
this
not
is
going to
your
give you any
life's work.
positives about it. There's nothing, I can tell you this,
Right.
there's nothing positive about
About the-
legalizing a drug that's going to get people high. But the point is, that I'm not one of those advocates that's going to tell you marijuana is the greatest thing ever. It's going to solve your problems. No one's going to get in. No, I'm not going to say that. What I will say is this. Studies have shown, statistically, if you go on NORML's website, they'll show you that federal studies and state studies have shown those things have either gone down or remain consistent. There hasn't been any increase in teen use. There hasn't been any increase in child access. If anything, it's gone down in a couple of places, which shocked me. I assumed it had to go up. I mean, there's more of it, how can it not get more available? But I was surprised to find that out myself. And again, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that weed, cannabis isn't dangerous. I mean, there's always problems with everything you do. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it's going to solve your tax problems and make you grow 10 feet and whatever, and you'll get whatever. No, it doesn't do anything. It just gets people high. But the reality is we live in a society where we live in a free society and people should be allowed to make whatever choices they want with that. And when it comes to that, if people are in the privacy of their own homes and they're on their property that they've worked their life to pay for, to have, and to spend their time in to do what they will, I really don't see the issue with them consuming cannabis in that. And not everyone has the ability to grow it. So if they just want to go to a store and buy it and go home, I don't see the problem with that. But that's just my personal opinion. If you guys see the problem with that and your town sees the problem with that, then don't have dispensaries. You know what I mean? But if your concerns are safety, that's not really a huge concern. You know,
I appreciate honesty.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to BS you and be like, oh, it's awesome. No, I mean it is, but it's awesome in that. It's awesome in that it makes me feel good. But
well,
not,
it depends who we're talking to, right?
Yeah,
Some people
so
are awesome,
it's but no, it's
yeah.
honesty, man.
Excuse me, Zach.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
appreciate you came to give us the benefit of your information. You're not a paid person, you're not working for the government, or
Yeah.
you're not working for anybody. I appreciate all of that, and I appreciate all your anecdotal statistics and things, but I think we've heard it, we've heard what you had to say, and we appreciate your advocacy, your right to do that. We certainly appreciate that here in this council. So I think we've heard enough. Go ahead, Rich.
Paul?
I just want to say that my big concern is people buying marijuana on the black market and from dealers, and because it's so easy, apparently, to lace the marijuana with fentanyl. And fentanyl is our biggest enemy, basically, in this country. And it's getting so easy to get it into all kinds of, candy looking, it's scary. And I think for people to have a safe place to go buy it so that they know it's not laced with anything, they're not buying it from, a dealer on the street, is a lot safer than,
I do have a couple of people I've known that have gotten sick and someone died from fentanyl from smoking weed. So yeah, I've seen that happen in the market in the past couple of years. That's definitely been a new kind of thing that has definitely made cannabis a lot less safer on the black market. But again, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But there's really nothing you can do about that other than, like you said, with this. But it like I said before, if that's not something the town wants, it's not something the town wants. But again, you're gonna face that problem going forward with anybody who. You're not gonna stop the people from using cannabis, only from getting stuff that's safe, pretty much. So that's.
And that's the thing, it's gonna be all around us. A lot of the other towns are already selling it. It's a matter of time until Milford's gonna be selling it.
Ladies first.
Since we started talking about this, a number of people have been in touch with me. And all the people who've been in touch with me, not one person is supporting the moratorium. They say, don't do it, because of all the things you said, how long it's going to take, the process of putting all the permits in place and getting the licenses, and most importantly, having access to safe product. But I know a lot about what goes on in Colorado, having a family member out there, and I've heard about a lot of things. So I have to say, if you're talking about representing New Milford, no one who was for the moratorium reached out to me, only against.
Thank you, Alex. Paul?
You're more knowledgeable, I guess, than anybody in this room right now, having a business in the town or state. But information I can get is that there's like 40% of the towns in the state of Connecticut that either have a ban or some type of moratorium. Some of them are going off on the end of April, some of them are June, July, what have you. Are you seeing a rapid increase on those that had bans switching back over to go ahead and proceed with it, or moratoriums becoming shorter? Or are they sticking with the same moratorium that they had?
It's kind of 50-50. It depends on the town. Some of them just, there's a lot of them had a knee-jerk reaction. We want a moratorium, we're worried. I get it's something new. And then they go back and revisit it. But Massachusetts is a much better example. They had, more than 50% of the towns had moratoriums or outright bans, and they still have them. That's the funny thing about Massachusetts. More than 50% of the towns, dispensaries banned. You can't throw a rock in that state without finding. Even I'm like, they're everywhere. You can't throw a rock in that state without finding a dispensary. So that's when, in New England, that's the real trouble is it's not like, one thing about Colorado, they do a real county institutionalized system, it's just much bigger in those states. If you ban them in your municipality, you do make it difficult for people to get it and you're gonna decrease it. But with our municipalities being the size that they are, it really hasn't had that same effect. You know, in Massachusetts, you're never more than 20 minutes from a dispensary at this point. So in Connecticut, you're almost, you know, you're right now at most maybe 35, 40 minutes from 145 at the most if you're on the shores. But yeah, as far as moratoriums, a lot of places just they tend to just keep them once they get it, because usually it will open next door in the town next door and then everyone's satisfied. And then whether you have the moratorium or not, a business doesn't want to come in because there's already one next door. And like I said, the market's just not that big. You know, it's a lot of dispensaries in Massachusetts are going out of business now.
Why listen to his statements? I don't understand.
Just more of a statement, you know, I've been going back and forth with this, and I actually agree with Mary Jane. And I think that it's more of a safety issue and the way it is, and we need to think about a safety issue. Whether it's a preference, whether we like marijuana or not, we know it's here. And so I think, as for me, it's more of a, I'll be voting against it. I think that we need to have the safety and stuff like that. So this just in my opinion.
I have a question for the town attorney. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, Zach.
Randy, you have been in discussions about this and around the state and everything. Do you have any statistics about how many towns who've had moratoriums have changed their mind or vice versa?
I don't. Most
Thank
of the
you.
moratoriums are still in force.
Thank you.
Because what happens is that it's inertia.
Yes.
One of the things, Sal, and I want to address your issue on this, and he alluded to it, and it's critical to understand, is one of the things that you have with these dispensaries is quality control. And I tell you, I'd hate when you see what happens to these families, and you do, Pete, you've heard it, I think it's well worth having controls rather than street weed or whatever's in that stuff. That's the only concern I have. I don't make policy, but it's a real heartfelt concern.
And Randy, just to continue that, so by virtue of the fact that this moratorium, well, we're just putting it in asking to put it forth for a year, but in real life, 21 days after it's been published, it can turn around. So next week, someone could come along and we could sit here and hear somebody who'd like to come to town and grow it, sell it, cut it, whatever. And we could decide that, well, okay, this is a completely different viewpoint and some good background information, et cetera. We're not stopping anything. As you just said, inertia sometimes causes things to happen. And if this town truly wants to lift a moratorium, there's 9 people here at their beck and call every day by email and twice a month, right? So they could let us know.
Oh, yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is there's no harm, there's no full stop to anything that anyone wanted to do in town by having this moratorium in place as a way to just see what happens.
Well, another town that I represent called it a timeout, essentially.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
But this moratorium, don't forget, doesn't preclude a lot of stuff.
Correct.
I mean, packaging, growing, things of that nature.
You've told us all
are
that.
not precluded because that's what you didn't want.
That's exactly right.
So I drafted the ordinance in a very limited way.
So we wouldn't miss out on someone wanting to come in and buy 20 acres and put up a greenhouse and grow it, and it could be sold wherever the heck they sell it to, without ever having to have a dispensary across the street. And I think that's what got lost when we first talked about this, which was some time ago, that now we've brought it back, that caution doesn't hurt anything in this case. It's not as if we're maybe missing out on the winning lottery ticket. It's strictly a timeout. I like that.
And he's right. This is not for raising revenue. It's not going to have an effect on the
Correct.
bottom line.
Thank you, Randy.
That may not be true.
I think if we are fully changing our position, and it sounds like a lot of people are, I do think it would benefit us to hear the other side. Some of the data that says this is worth waiting because here's what's coming out of Colorado. Here's what's coming out of Massachusetts for the youth and for addiction and for, gateway drug. I think that we don't have the information, which is why we push pause to say, wait a minute, is this the best thing for New Milford?
So
I have heard
to
from
Hillary's
people
point,
who want it.
Randy, so we had our public hearing again because of the snow the last time. So if it's the thought of the council to have, bring this back at the next council meeting for the request of what Hillary's talking about for the other side, do we still have the timeframes for us to allow for us to do that?
You would have to act within 45 days of tonight
Okay.
Right.
in order to pass the moratorium.
All right, so we have 2 weeks.
And Mayor,
It's
I would
fine.
like to ask that if we're going to have, and no offense to you, Zach, I appreciate that you are an advocate for this. Everybody should have such a good advocate as you are. I think that if we're going to do that, we need to have somebody who can provide the statistics and the real figures and facts about what's happened in other towns in Connecticut. I understand there's other states, but we are in Connecticut, and what's the closest town that has not imposed a moratorium to us? You know, maybe we can find that out.
Danbury, I can ask
There
them.
you go, perfect. I just think that it's interesting to hear from someone who's been, you know, doing this in all the different ways that you have, Zach, but I would like to have some really hard,
I don't know that there is a lot of hard data out there yet. but-
well, somebody
So
can
new, yeah.
come along.
They would have
It is new,
research,
I know, I realize that.
It would be out-of-state research.
But I'd like to hear what another
We
town
can do like
had to
Great
say.
Barrington, right? Because they.
Yeah, they have four.
a-
I think they have 4 dispensaries in Barrington, and they have another one in Sheffield, right over the line.
Right, but Connecticut's laws, as we know, we still have some very antiquated laws here, and for all I know, there's things here that we're not aware of, you know, if we were to go ahead. So taking a pause on this, are you up for that, Mayor?
So we have a motion and a second to do that for the next meeting. We'd have to withdraw
Yes.
the motion in the second.
That's Katie and Tom.
Right, so
I'll withdraw my second.
I'm looking, I'll withdraw my motion, I mean, as long as I'm not getting daggers from anybody who's sitting here. No, I mean, it's not just to me, but I just don't see
And
any
then-
reason not to.
Right. And the thought from the council is come back with pros and cons, have 2
Well,
experts on both sides.
Danbury is a good example, right?
Yep.
And whatever other town, I just think we should keep with Connecticut, because we do have some,
Well, there hasn't been a lot of data. My only reason looking at a
Oh,
state
I
is the
see.
data on addiction, on teen use, on, you
Oh,
know,
that,
what are the
yes,
potential
yes, yes.
negatives
Yep.
of the law, which I
Yeah.
just do not know. So it would be interesting to hear that actual
Right.
data.
There's an organization called Smart Approach to Marijuana, they're an anti-legalization. If you contact them, they'll be able to provide you with that information. They might even send someone to the town meeting and stuff.
okay,
Thanks, Zach.
thank you.
That was gonna be my next question, who are we gonna call to come in front of us in 2 weeks?
Well, one of the things I'd like to know is, here we are a town of 30,000 people, what town in Connecticut recently, because it's only recently that they could be doing this, you know, what did they find if they put a moratorium in place? And what,
To be honest with you, if you can give us your
there are
opinion.
statistics.
Opinion, and we don't have to go to Danbury and all over the place because we live in New Milford. I want to know what New Milford thinks. What Danbury thinks, it's Danbury's business. It's not mine.
And Randy, as far as proper procedure, do we need to make a motion for that, or can we just
No, you can do it as a legislative prerogative.
Just like
do the
we-
legislative process?
Yeah,
Okay,
legislative prerogative, yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, the motion has been
Yeah, there
removed.
wasn't a vote.
Okay. So then, Mayor, we would do it at our next meeting, which would
It'll
be
be warned on next meeting, which is 27th.
27th, okay. We'll get to this yet. But the worst thing would be to do the wrong thing. We're here by the voters.
Okay.
All right, so we'll go, Mayor,
Next
to
is-
9B. I'd like to move that we approve the authorization of future borrowing of $10 million for roads, $5 million for roof. There is information with your packet referring to this, and the mayor will explain.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
We have Jack Healy here as well. Jack, can you come on up to the podium as well? And is Greg Ossipel on the call?
Yes, I am.
All right. Thank you, Greg. So basically what this is, we've done this just about every year, right, Greg? I think, did we do it last year as
No,
well?
as needed, Mayor. This is
Okay.
typically done in advance of borrowing for, future projects. We do it in aggregate. This way, it saves time and money. And once we get the authorization, as the need arises to do roofs and do roads, we don't have to go through this process again. We already have the authorization. We can go directly to the capital markets.
And Greg, for those that are new or watching on TV, the 10 million and 5 million isn't money we're borrowing like next year in totality.
No.
This just allows. Go ahead.
No, the plan is, and correct me if I'm wrong, we are borrowing $2.5 million in short-term borrowings for roads only next year.
Correct, Jack?
Correct.
That was a question.
Yep.
So, Greg, this is Katie. So there is no, this isn't something that has to be done in totality, not 10 million, not 5 million. This is going to start with the 2.5. And
no, we're seeking authorization for the full 10 million
Right.
and the full 5 million, so we don't have to go through this process again. This is what
Right.
is typically
I understand.
done when we go for
Yes.
authorization.
I didn't say it right. What I meant to finish was to say that does not mean you must use this all. Right? Okay.
No, the authorization is in perpetuity until executed
Thank you.
and exhausted.
That's what I
And
wanted.
Greg, the reason why we're doing this all in total is because there's a cost every time that we go and ask for the authorization, correct?
Yes, there's costs, and it's also time consuming too, because it's not only council's authorization, it's Board of Finance, it's town meeting, and perhaps action by the planning commission as well. So it's better to do it all in one fell swoop. This way, if we need to move on a road, on roads or roofs or bridges or what have you, we have the wherewithal to do it.
Thank you, Greg. Hillary?
When is the last time we did an aggregate like this, and what was the amount that we approved such a big aggregate?
Years ago, we got authorization for roads and bridges, matter of fact, and we still have bridge authorization, but we have exhausted all of our road authorization borrowings.
So what was the amount that we last did that you're referring to?
I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I don't know. It could have been 20 million, but I'm going off the top of my head. I'll have to circle back with you and get you that information. It was at least 10 million, I would think.
Greg, Paul Murphy.
Paul?
As chairman of the Planning Commission, if I recall it correctly, it was $10 million.
You're going to have to relay that question.
So, Paul-
because I can't hear Paul.
Okay. Paul said as chairman of the planning commission, he remembers it being 10 million for the road authorization.
That sounds about right.
Any other questions?
So are there any particular projects in mind when you come up with these numbers of 10 and 5?
So we have this year's road, working with the road committee. You have this year's roads, which is why we're coming up with 2.5 million. As far as the roofs, that's the conversation that we have to have with the Board of Education as far as Hill and Plain and the Northville roof. When that would be done, and that's a lengthy process because we're going to go for school reimbursement too. Have to go for the design and all that other stuff. So it's a kind of a time-consuming process. But let's say, and don't hold me to it, Alex, but let's say all that gets done next January. Well, you don't want to go and then try and get additional authorization. You already have it, and then you can start the process.
Any other roofs, or are those the only two you're thinking about?
We could be, look where we're doing work on the max, right? We're looking to see about the max.
And JPCC?
Pettibone, and then the Board of Education is handing over East Street School to the town, where we're gonna get an assessment. The cupola looks like it's ready to fall off, but I'm not an engineer, so we won't know all that stuff yet.
So Pettibone is on the list, is what you're saying?
It's one that we had a study done about 3 or 4 months ago. I think you authorized it, and we did the study, and we have estimates on what it would cost to repair, well, you wouldn't repair it, you would replace that roof.
And the Max got surplus money already in, so why would the Max still be on the list?
Lemax, all the roofs, we're doing assessments on them. Doesn't mean that we have to do something with it, but we're assessing the roofs. So what I'm saying is when you're asking for roofs, there's no order yet because we don't have the authorization yet and we don't know where the schools are gonna be the priority.
Right. But when the towns accepted the list of items for surplus, I thought there was $100,000 for the max roof on the list.
Correct, but when we're doing an assessment, I'm making it up.
Oh,
Maybe
okay. So
maybe there's some structural stuff that we don't even know about. I don't know. But I'm not, in other words, we're doing assessments on all, I guess what I'm saying, we're doing assessments on all the roofs.
You're gonna do those anyway.
Exactly.
Jack?
But that doesn't mean we're gonna do like a brand-new roof tear off of the max.
it's just that if you've already allocated that money for the max roof, why would the max roof also be on this list for
It's
the
not.
5 million?
It's
Oh,
not.
you said it though, the max.
I'm
Okay.
saying we're doing assessments on all of our roofs.
Okay.
How's the roof on the senior center?
We are also doing an assessment on that. We do have a couple of leaks on the very top. Yeah, so we're doing an assessment on that also, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I just want to make sure that I'm understanding our debt fully, because I want to just understand that, you know, this is giving full permission to do this, so I want to make sure I'm knowing where we are. So we have about 57 million in debt right now, currently, right? So, because in 2019, I see we had the 6 million for bridges and roads, and then 2020, we did 6 million for roads, right? And then 2021, we did another 4 million in roads. So that's 10 million, 16 million in 3 years. And then roads again, this is the 2.5 in 2022, this, or is that already passed?
2.5 is already
Done,
authorized.
right. So I'm just trying to get a sense of our annual cost for roads, because this is a lot of debt to be put, you know, to be adding on. And then this is saying yes to another 10 in roads. So I get a little, you know, I'm just trying to say, how do we understand, you know, what it's costing every year to maintain our roads?
To maintain or to repair?
However you want to do it. And the best way would be not to ask for more debt, right? Not to go out and get any more debt, obviously. That would be ideal.
That would be ideal.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it would be so much pressure on a tax increase to an already, as you said before, stressed public,
That's
so
right.
you gotta push it out. The good thing is, and Greg can talk about it a little bit too, talking to our financial advisor, we've got debt that falls off. So when the debt falls off, we're trying to keep the cash flow even. So in doing that, working with a financial advisor, that's what we've been trying to do.
Right.
Is keep the cash flow consistent with debt falling off, adding that on for much needed road work, repair work, whether it be school roofs, whether it be this roof here, whatever. But it's keeping that debt consistent.
And would you still have to come to this body to get approval of the specifics, or, because it seemed like it was a very legal change, you know, saying that it was up to the mayor, the finance director, and the town committee that was, so it is a legal change.
Well, what it's done, it comports with the requirements of the underwriters. That's what it's done. And this was prepared by our bond counsel. And the reason it's done, it's really a reserve, I guess, lack of a better term, Greg, it's a reserve. It's an authorization. It doesn't mean it has to be spent, but it's been the custom for some time in towns to do this. And that's why we have separate bond counsel to do this stuff, because it's independent of the town attorney, and it's supposed to be independent of politics. So the finance director and the bond counsel work on what the requirement will be, along with the Board of Finance, and planning is involved because of improvements to the town and things of that nature. So it's really a holistic approach, but it's authorized by the statutes, and it's prescribed, if you will, by the underwriters. That's why this is done this way. Again, I don't do policy, but that's the legalities of it.
Katie?
A question for you or Jack and/or, so in the 2019, 2020, and 2021, so we had $16 million. And we've been through, what, half of our 200 plus or minus roads?
Well, we've gone through half, we've touched half in the last.
Touched half.
Yeah.
And I was gonna ask you then, so how many of those dollars were spent on what we're talking about now? In other words, rehabbing.
The way that we budget the money is in our budget. I think you remember our operating budget. There's two lines. There's a $1.2 million for road maintenance and repair. There's also $300,000 in operating capital money, which is about $1.5 million for road. We use that for like chip seal, fog seal, all those ones that we do.
The dirt roads.
Dirt roads. Put new gravel down on dirt roads. That's the maintenance part of and that's what we're striving to get to. So we do more of that and less of rebuilding. Of the money you've bonded, that's all. It's all gone to reclaiming or mill and pave of roads. And we're striving. When I first got here, you were around $7 million. We've been bringing it down on an annual basis. We prioritize the roads based on. We go out and we evaluate the road. We score it. We go debate back and forth on it. We talk to there's a municipal road committee. We meet monthly, discuss that. We present it to the mayor, and it's a team effort to get to that. The goal is, I would like in a perfect world to get it set up so that every 7 years you touch a road.
Right.
Touch it means fog seal, chip seal, crack seal, whatever you do.
So that everything has been refurbished to the point it's just being maintained.
Yeah. Every 20 years you would do, I won't be here, but in 20 years you'll start to reclaim and go back over those roads. And that's how you get a 20-year road. And that's what the program has been since I've been here. And this is my 5th summer. And we've spent a good deal of money. We've also put back, I think, the roads in good condition when we've gone there.
Well, that's what I was just saying. So of the 16 million, as Hillary was pointing out, and it's over 3 years, how many miles have you reclaimed?
Oh, boy.
I mean, you can guess at it.
It's probably, we're up around 40 miles of reclaimed roads. Reclaimed, and when we do a reclaim, we put new pipes, drainage, the whole thing. So it's a new road.
As you've touched almost half of our 200 plus miles. I know that. So out of that, you're close to 50% of that being reclaimed.
Correct.
Okay.
And this year, we've already got, when the mayor said 2.5, we're still working on the money we have that was bonded previously. So we have money to get us started. And, the other towns I've worked in do this exactly the same way we do it here.
Doug?
So I know that Hillary just mentioned, was it 57 million in debt? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Greg, Doug Skelly, on the 57 million, is there anything coming off the next couple of years for the short-term bans?
Yeah, at the back of your budget book, there's an appendix, and it'll show the cash flow of the bonding. Yeah, there's several issues that are coming off next fiscal year.
All right, I guess I have to, you don't have.
Do you know how much that's worth, Greg?
No, not offhand, no.
The 2004 ones are coming off, right?
2004 coming off, Greg?
What's that amount, Hillary? I wasn't here then.
I'm sorry. Mayor, can you repeat the question? The sound is terrible.
They were asking, is it the 2004 debt, some of the debt coming off?
Yes, and like I said, it's at the back of the budget book. If you have it, it's in the appendix. There's several WPCA issues that are being retired, some pump stations.
So
that I know off the top of my head. I don't have my budget book with me though.
So 2004, so I'm looking at 120,000 for land, sewers 1.78. I see South End, Route 7 South 2.6, West Side sewage 200. So there's quite a bit coming off in 2004.
There's like 4 or 5 issues there, Doug. You're looking right at it.
Okay.
Yes, that's what's coming off.
So if I add all these numbers off on the 2000, there's probably 5 or 6 of them. Okay.
Well, don't forget, don't confuse with issuance price versus what our actual payments are going to be. I don't know exactly, you'd have to add up what's coming off in payments, but, whereas, if you get $1 million and it's amortized over 20 years, you're obviously paying 1/20th of that, every year. So that's really, from a cash flow perspective, that's what you have to look at.
Okay, thank you, Greg.
So in 2022, we paid 4.9 million for debt, but in 2023, we had 5.7. 2024, it's saying we're gonna pay 5.3 million. Does that sound right? 5.3?
Sounds about
Yeah.
right.
So I see what you're saying. It's spread across,
Spread
but
out.
it's shocking to see 15 million and think it's all happening, but
Right.
no, I get it.
Spread it out over time.
But the problem is that you don't have to come back to this body to get the approval. Generally, do you though, and come before the council and say,
We would annually when you
Yeah.
approve the budget, when
Yeah.
you see the debt schedule.
Yeah.
But if it's up to the council, we can make it way more, if you'd
Obvious.
like it differently, we can do it that way. But normally, when we look at the budget book
It's in there.
annually, it's in there.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Well, you could highlight it going forward.
Well, normally you'll see the roads committee, right?
Right.
So they come before us every year.
Right,
They'll be
so-
here in
okay.
April. They
So-
talk about the same thing as well.
But Pete, you had mentioned if we go bits and pieces, it costs more to do it each time.
Absolutely.
So instead of just
Right.
getting the lump sum, you're paying.
Well, this plan has worked well.
Right.
And we have Jack who's getting us into this 20-year road plan, which is great. But how about, we make a note on the calendar that they come and talk about it.
Remember
Randy?
tranches of 10 and $5 million, $2.5 million are the common tranches for authorizations and bond market buying.
Just to give you some meditation.
Thanks, Tom.
Bond counsel is very expensive.
Yeah.
So what I would suggest, if you want to have a more of a knowledge of this, you might want to get a report when it's tapped. Because if you're going to do this every time you do a bond, you're going to have to do essentially a bond offering every time you're going to hit this money, and that's really expensive. This is not my
Right,
rates.
right.
This
No.
is expensive stuff, and that's why the towns
You do it
do
in
it
lump
this
sum.
way.
Well, we don't want to add to, that's for sure.
No,
We
I
don't
think
wanna
the
add.
questions have been answered. Thank you so much.
Paul?
I'm glad we're buying it down. As we sat here, and I'm watching the national debt. Just in the time that we talked, the national debt went up $3 million. It's at $31 trillion right now. So, and they're not buying it down.
Any other questions for Greg or for Jack?
It's because they're assholes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have a second, right?
Yes, Tom.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you, everybody.
Jack, thank you.
Thanks, Jack.
Mayor,
Jack.
our last item is number 9C, an update on the opioid settlement.
Thank you, Katie. So I'd like to let the town council know that through many hours of work of the lawyers that have been representing us in other towns, we are going to be seeing some monies. I believe so far, when you add them all up, Randy, was it about 65,000?
5 million.
Well, I mean, 65,000 to
65
town.
for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
I
that-
just-
I got 65
I was just going to
million.
say, why'd you tell us that at the beginning? We could have
So-
dispensed with all this
Couple
other
X's here,
conversation. That's right. Okay, so 65,000, give or take?
Right. We have
Okay.
not received, I think we received one payment, right, Greg, of like 15 grand?
I think he left.
I think it was
So did he?
14,000.
14, okay.
I think it was.
And then we'll be getting additional funds as this comes through. I would like to ask the council if we could set up a committee to see what would be the best use of the opioid settlement funds. I think we could bring on some people that have a lot of experience. Also ask for 2 council members to be on the committee. Hillary, I'd like for you to be on it if you
Absolutely.
could, okay? And how we can then use that money as the most effective and efficient way possible.
I'd be willing.
Randy?
The mayor just articulated beautifully what the recommendation of the commission, the commission is, the opioid commission. I attended a meeting of the municipal lawyers and the some of the members of the commission. And the reason the mayor's doing this is very astute, because the commission needs to be given a plan as to what we intend to use the opioid settlement money for. And if you have if you have a legislatively appointed committee, it's going to have a lot of weight with the commission. So I think that this is the genesis and the thought process, and I think it's very wise to do this rather than just, here's what we're going to do. There's going to be another meeting, and I'll be notified of it, and the mayor's already signed the documents, by the way. By the way, Mayor, I didn't get confirmation that they received them. Did you receive that confirmation?
The only thing I got was the electronic filing when they say it's processed. That's the only thing I got.
Yeah, that's the only thing I got.
Which I forwarded to you.
Yeah.
Other than that,
I haven't gotten anything either. But the mayor signed all the documents, to my knowledge, were needed to be signed. So we're on it, and I would have probably gotten notice of that meeting if we weren't. So everything's on the way. There's going to be that cash. 15% of it's already going to be paid up front, and then the balance will be paid when the commission orders the release of the money. We are under some of the control of the Attorney General's office, so there's going to be a political angle to it, but I don't think it's going to be anything we're going to have to worry about, frankly, because there's too many towns involved, and the commission is really it's bilateral. So that's what's going on right now.
Katie?
Are there any prohibited uses?
Yeah, but they're very rare. But the fact is what you have to do is you have to have a program and an expenditure for treatment, for education, and for prevention.
Okay.
Any of those things will qualify. And as they said in the meeting, and Mayor O'Leary was really the chair of you can pretty well stretch that, because everybody in this meeting anyway understood the importance of this situation, the fentanyl situation and the opioid situation. So they don't expect a lot of cheating, but that's why you have to submit a program to the commission.
So there are guidelines.
There's if you will, there's a scope.
Yes. Okay.
It's liberal, but it has to be related to that prevention,
Rightly so.
treatment, or education.
Rightly so.
and so if the council so chooses and approves, then I would ask Randy to kind of help us facilitate the charge, bring that forward to the council for the next meeting, and then vote on that, and then begin to assemble the commission.
I'll be happy to do that, and
Or
what I'll do is essentially parrot what I learned at these meetings.
Good.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you, William Tom.
Yeah.
Attorney General.
Yes, absolutely.
So-
Settlement.
I think the lawyers did that, frankly.
Yeah, but he's
Could I entertain a motion for the creation of a opioid committee?
Yes, I'd like to move that we create for the town a committee to work on how we would plan and use the opioid settlement funding that we receive.
Second.
In line with what is required.
And we have a
Okay.
motion and a second. Any
Randy, second.
discussion?
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Tom, were you aye for doing it?
Yes, I will.
Okay, great. Any abstentions? Then Randy, if you could get to work on that for the next council. Excellent. All right. Sal?
Motion to adjourn, everybody. Cheers.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Randy.
Thank you.
So 65.